anticipation. We actually been looking forward to this for many, many months, and we thought about what best way to finish the day than to give you a live demonstration of post-production for audio. So we chose just the right people for that. No Boy Studios is based in Philadelphia.
It is.
They have done lots of national.
It is the last part of the day.
Regional projects as well.
We got to touch on
and
that.
Tommy Joyner and Jamie Lokoff are joining us today, giving us some of their incredibly valuable time and wisdom to the one thing that comes up most often in student films, which is how to get great sound, how to produce great sound, and how to use the equipment that you already have on computers back in your schools to mix great sound. So without further ado, please give it up for Jamie and Tommy. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Hello, hello.
Ready? Hey everyone, I'm Tommy Joyner, that's Jamie Lokoff, and we are here to tell you about the most important part of filmmaking, which is post-production audio. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
You know, it's funny. It's funny that we're the last ones to speak, and I should be honored, but we're used to it because sound is always the last thing that a filmmaker thinks about. It's always they have no money by the time they get to us. They've spent all their money on making a movie, and you can, because typically what you do when you get into this, you want to make a movie. You're not really thinking about sound. And like we always say, you can have a great film and crappy audio and it's impossible to watch. But if you have a grainy video and good sound, all of a sudden you can watch it.
It's suddenly art. You've created art.
And so people come to us all the time, and it's really where the magic happens. Once the sound starts to come together, that's when the film starts together. And in a lot of cases, they'll come to us with horrible sound that we have to work on, and all of a sudden their movie starts to come together. If the sound effects are not there, it doesn't look real. So we're going to show you some things. We worked on a film. I think, I don't know if Tammy's still here, but we did a film. We're like you. I mean, we made a film. We got it into a festival. We got into Tribeca. We got bought by a distributor. We got into theaters. It was, I think, in 15 markets across the country. And it all started with one idea. And we're like you. So we're going to take you through some of this stuff.
So our goal, we know that you each have a project, and our goal for you is to see to it that you come out at the end of this project looking at what you've created and going, yeah, this looks real, this looks good. And you're going to do that through the use of audio. You're going to do that through manipulating what you've had all the fun of scripting and conceiving and maybe designing sets and lighting and filming and working with actors. And you know, to some degree, you have all done some that or all of those things by the time you get to this process. And the process now for you is to look at what you've done, edit it into a cohesive timeline that now looks like a movie and tells your story, and now you need to make it sound like a movie. And you will do that by hopefully by being creative with your use of music, with your use of ambiances, which is the natural sound. If a lot of times what you'll find is that you'll have a car going by behind your actors, and you see it, but if it doesn't make the noise on screen, it just looks strange. And I'll have some examples of that for you. And then through the use of effects like what's called Foley. In music, in movies, when you put natural sounds like the sound of clothing rustles, the sound of footsteps, the sounds of doors opening, of a knife and fork on a plate, that's called Foley.
Does everybody know what Foley is?
Especially after my very good explanation.
Everybody on board with Foley? So we're not teaching you about Foley, but we can show you what we've done. And again, it's no different than what you would be doing. I mean, you're just sitting in front of a mic and, you know, ruffling the fabric. And also a funny part about it is The magic of it is that it's not always, the sound that you see is not always what the sound was that you created. Like, you can be as creative as you want to make the sound that you need it to be. It doesn't have to be, if it's a leather jacket, it could be you scrumpling a leather jacket, or it could be, you know, some piece of rubber or something.
Trash bags or something. Or, for example, if you want to really make an impact of a door closing to be a lot, you know, more than just, more meaningful than the door closing, you put in the sound of a volcano or something. You know, you can go, you want to go big. You want to go big. This is film, make it special.
Right. Play that first, play the opening that you just played, just for fun. This was, you know, the movie's over. We created the whole film, and we needed an opening for it, for Milk Boy Entertainment. And we had somebody create this open.
You want sound?
Play it without sound. So somebody gave that to us as our open. And so now, without the sound, it's like, what do you do? And I'm going to keep going back to this, but we're like you. It's just like you get into a room, you start being creative, and you think about who you are and what elements you could bring that represent your brand, and are you funny, are you not funny, is it serious, is it big? And so we got into the studio. By the way, Milk Boy is a recording studio, so we got into our live room and we started creating sounds, and this is what it wound up becoming. Totally made it up on the spot. Had no idea what we were going to do. And it looks like it belongs, doesn't it? And so it's that same approach with everything that you guys do. It's like, just dig in and trust yourself. All right, now we're going to go to one of the scenes. So we made this film, Slow Learners, and I know that you've seen, Tammy was here and she played a couple of the scenes. We're going to show you a couple more scenes from the film that have, that we can show you some different sound elements.
Why don't I do the party?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So at the this is a party scene, and when you're filming, you're trying to capture the best voices that you can on the set, the clearest. So we have a party scene going on here, and every extra that's in this party scene, and there's about 75 or 80 people there, that are told to do not make a sound. Just act like you're talking, mime, mimic, do not make a sound. You only care about the leads at this point, and capturing what they delivered with the script.
Side note, this scene is shot in Tammy's house, so it can happen anywhere.
And then you fill in you're filling in the blanks afterwards. And here's what the scene is like, just dialogue.
Hey Carol, what a terrific school year. Can I make you a snack plate?
I'm not eating. I'm only drinking clear liquids now, so no. Man, Carol was so irritable.
She's a real hothead.
She must be hungry all the time.
That's my problem, you know. I'm a nice guy. I'm almost too nice. I ask people if they want a snack plate. I go to work every day. I pay my taxes. And what's my reward?
Maybe it's not about your rewards. Maybe it's more about just like being comfortable in your own skin. Be yourself. Everybody else is already taken. That's all right.
Yes. God, you're so quick. You don't give me enough time.
Because you're so slow.
You have a quick trigger finger.
Yeah, I do. Well, but you. I got paid. Get the next.
It's a nice shirt.
Thank you.
Or is it a blouse? How can you tell?
Where are you? No. Nobody good here.
I heard that. I have my own
And that's the scene as shot. And to get the voices clear, we actually wound up taking out some of the in-between audio. You saw him drumming on the bottom of this plate. You saw her go through the screen window. Now, we didn't have a mic necessarily on the screen window. It's quiet. And on set, it's quiet. It's deadly quiet. And so really all you're picking up are the voices. So to make it feel real, you add in a whole extra layer of ambience where you might want to consider what's going on at the party. Is there music going on? Like,
where is that music placed? You know, like how do you make the music? Is the music coming from? Are the speakers at the pool by the party, or is the music coming from inside the house? You got to decide that, and it's going to impact the scene.
And then furthermore, then there's a lot of background effects. There's the sounds of people partying. There's what you see behind them.
Because that wasn't really going on that night. Everybody is quiet as a mouse back there.
I'll get to the good stuff. Some finger noise on the plate. Cell phone. And there's all that.
And all of those are decisions that you have to make. You have to make, like, what kind of a phone is it? Is it an Apple phone? Well, I don't know if you're allowed to use that phone. You know, do you even want to pull yourself out of that moment and say, oh, it's an Apple phone? The sound that she makes when she goes through the door. I think Tommy was there too for that part when we were creating that. That could have been much bigger. It could have been funnier. It could have been more farcical. It could have been, the directors wanted it to be as close to real as possible. They didn't want to go over the top. So that's what you see there.
They wanted the humor to be more subtle. It's a funny movie on its own, and they didn't want to go over the top with effects to make it that. But you put it all together, and you have a scene now.
Hey, Carol, what if you're in school year? Can I make you a snack plate?
I'm only drinking.
I just hit stop. Sorry.
Hey, Carol, what if you're in school year? Can I make you a snack plate?
I'm not eating. I'm only drinking her liquid now, so no. Man, Carol is so irritable.
So hot.
She's down here all the time.
That's my problem, you know. I'm a nice guy. I'm almost too nice. I ask people if they want a snack plate. I go to work every day. I pay my taxes. And what's my reward?
Maybe it's not about your rewards. Maybe it's more about just like being comfortable in your own skin. Be yourself. Everybody else is already taken. That's all.
Yes. God, you're so quick. You don't give me enough time.
Because you're so slow.
You have a picture over here.
Yeah, I know. Okay, get nurse.
The phone.
It's a nice shirt. Or is it a blouse? How can you tell?
Where are you? No, you have any good here.
I heard that. I have my own thing to take care of.
What?
And
So the Foley in that scene was the plate, you know, and that's basically just, you know, Tommy is at the desk recording. We're in a booth. There's a TV in the booth. We're watching him tap the plate. We have a plastic plate, and that's how you create it. It's that simple. It's not rocket science, but there is an art to it. Do you want to show another scene?
Sure.
Does anybody have any questions about that scene? Yes.
What did you use to like make the screen crack down? Or did you just like record it?
What did we make to make the screen crash?
Yeah.
Sound-wise?
Yes.
Well,
That's a good question.
we used a lot of different things.
There's a car wreck in there.
And there's some bottles, and it's really a layering of all different sounds that come together. Like I was saying, when we first did it, it was much bigger.
If I'm not mistaken, there's a sound of a car hitting some trash cans. And that's just to make it big, to make it so it has impact, and you really kind of feel her flop onto the couch and clear off everything, just totally yard sale on whatever's in front of her on the coffee table, and you want to feel it, and you do that and you create that through audio, and you invest that scene with a lot of realism. We could probably do another one. You want to jump to the end? There's some. This movie is a romantic comedy. I don't know if I'm going to be telling anybody something that they don't already know by saying this, but I'll go ahead and give away the end. They get together. Okay. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
There you go. But there's an entire ending scene that's shot mostly without audio. She's running. We can't put a lav on her. This shot is from a distance. You can't have a sound guy with a boom near her. So a lot of the audio to make that shot, a lot of the audio that you would normally capture or normally hear in that space, you don't have. It's not. You don't shoot it.
So you have to recreate.
So we are at this point forced to recreate it afterwards.
Everything.
And I'm playing the production audio right now. It's pretty quiet. And then they start to talk.
Hi.
Hello.
This is really beautiful.
Hi.
And this is a really good opportunity to talk about a problem that you'll encounter. Is that they're speaking quietly, they're acting, and it's an important scene in the movie, and there's a lot of love in the room, just like this one. And and they're quiet, they're speaking quietly to each other, and there is a ton. There's crickets, there's birds, there's a plane that goes overhead. We're shooting outside at Ridley High, and it is the football team's practicing over there. It is noisy, and we're shooting the scene, and we're trying to get everybody to be quiet, but you still have a ton of pages to get through, and you're on a professional set. Your shooting schedule, everybody's obviously paid by the minute, and you're really working quickly as you can, so you don't stop production. And what landed on the screen had a ton of background noise. So you're actually stripping out. What we actually had to do was strip out every bit of background noise between each line, which is the same thing that you will likely do when you get into your audio post process. You'll have noises in there that you don't want. And as much as post-audio sound is about making creative choices, it's also about triage. It's also about making choices to save this scene from all the background noise and stuff that you happen to get in your camera. So we were fighting that in this scene. You can hear a little bit.
This is really beautiful.
Hi.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Especially the comment part.
Yeah, well, he's the greatest American author who's also a Motley Crue.
Yeah, I agree. Did you like bike?
Oh, no. I thought it would look cool if I was standing in front of it.
It looks very cool.
Definitely shouldn't have touched it.
Okay.
So to go back to that, and then add in the effects, and this is what you'll do in your scenes when you're shooting or when you're editing your picture, and you're doing your final, scan back to picture. You want to be able to feel each movement that's there. So you'll put it in. And those footsteps are downloaded from the internet. That's a sound library. We have a great sound library, but it's the same thing. When you need footsteps, search. You will find what you need and put them, and you'll be able to put in footsteps. And so mine aren't necessarily exactly downloaded from the internet, but it's the same thing, same difference. I just have audio files at my disposal that we can put in along with the motion. Door. Her motions, her hand motion, touching the glass.
You hear the ambience? The car. The footsteps fade as she walks away.
Hello?
This is really beautiful.
Hi.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Especially the calm part.
Yeah, well, he is the greatest American author who's also a Motley Crue.
Yeah, I agree.
And then the last element is the music. And we had this great song that the directors and all the producers loved. It was by Lily and Madeline. And we had this great song for this great scene, except the song is about 2.5 minutes and the scene is about 4.5 minutes. And so what do? And so we took the song and we chopped it up and turned it into a 4.5 minute song. And so...
And part of the real fight that you have with music, when you're making a creative choice like that, when you found the emotion of the scene, and you want to take you find a song that has the same emotional connection, that has the same makes you feel the same way, and you put them together, and it's perfect, except every time that your actor is speaking, there is a lyric going on. You're forced to find instrumental sections of the song, and to the best of your ability, make it so that the song is not just like the voices of this beautiful song and the voices of this beautiful script aren't competing with each other.
Right. So we would edit it so that the instrumental parts in the song would come underneath the parts where they're talking as best we could.
Especially the calm part.
It's not the way the song went.
Greatest American author who's also a Motley Crue.
Yeah, I agree. Did you get a bite?
Oh, no. I thought it would look cool if I was standing in front of it.
It looks very cool.
Definitely shouldn't have touched it. Come here. How's your summer?
Sucked.
Oh, no, it was the shit.
Okay.
You see that? You get it? Does anybody have any questions about that scene? I know that we're running out of time. We could do this all day, but I know you got to leave. Anybody?
Yeah.
You see somebody?
Yeah. Yes.
This is about the screen door sound you made. How long does it take to make something like that? Like after you cut it and tie it into the video, like the whole process of making it sound?
It could take long and it could take not long at all. I mean, you just, like I said, you're just sitting in a room and you start layering sounds. You're just trying different things. You're putting things together.
Well, for those of you who are procrastinators and need to kind of give yourself a timeline to work backwards from, like me, you budget time-wise about an hour for every minute of film that you have. So for those of you working on a half-hour movie, you got a lot of nights in front of you, 4 or 5 hours at a chunk of creating sound effects and working your way through scenes. That is a reasonable expectation in like in a professional movie of the amount of time you'd spend. When we're asked that question by a potential client, how many hours do I need to budget? That's what we work with.
Right, that's a good answer. And but you could create that sound. You could put it in your mix. You go back, you watch the whole film, and that sound sticks out, or it doesn't sound right. So you got to go back and make it feel better within the scene. Yes?
How much communication do you typically have with the director as you are creating special effects like the screen door effect?
Depends, I mean.
Yeah.
Show it to them and make it.
Typically, the way it works is somebody gives us the film and all the files, and we will do a pass through the whole film. You know, it's like watching paint dry to sit there and watch us do what we do. And so the director will let us go through it one time. We'll send it to them. They'll give us some notes. We'll get it back. We'll work on it again. Then it'll all culminate to in our case, I think it was like a week, one torturous week of sound and you go through each second of the film, and it's hard. But when you're there with the directors in the same room, you have a microscope on everything.
But that's filmmaking. I mean, it's not easy to make a film. It does take a ton of hours. But the thing is that you have these ideas, and you young people have these terrific ideas that you are probably already figuring out how you can bring to life. And hopefully what we're giving you is a couple of tools to use when you are finishing, when you're taking your project over the finish line, and you're in a jam. You know, you're stuck with something. Although I think probably the most important message, and I think this is the last thing that we'll have the time to talk to you about, is about the emotional connection of what you see on screen and how music impacts that. We come from a music background, both Jamie and I do, and so before we got into filmmaking, we always approached it we approached everything from a musical point of view, from a musical reference point, and that works very well in film because when you are looking to make your scene work, music is almost always your key to making that happen. That's why skateboard films look so good. You got great action and awesome music. It works every time.
Elevates the film.
Right.
And so you look at the film, and from a musical perspective, and every scene has its own rhythm, every scene has its own tempo, and it's your job as a filmmaker to figure out what that tempo is, unless you're working as a composer like we do sometimes, and then you're being given direction about the feel and how they want a scene to come across. You're pulling up.
I'm going to bring this back to something that's like more real life. For those of you who stick with this, for those of you who take this this festival and take the lessons from this and really absorb them and take this to the next level in some way. And you may not even know who you are yet. I know that when I was your age, I only cared about music, but I didn't really know how to play very well. I just didn't know how I was going to get from point A to point B. And you may be the same way. That here you are, you love movies, you love filmmaking, and you may not understand like how you're going to get there yet. But when you do, and you find yourself working in different length formats, I wanted to play a composition that we had to create for a very tiny format, for a 30-second long thing, and you can still hear how that works and elevates and moves a very short scene, as opposed to like these longer, languid kind of moves like in a movie. That you have a 4 or 5 minute or a 10-minute scene and you need to create music for that. A lot of composition work these days is not done with traditional instruments. It's not done necessarily with
it's done with everything
orchestra.
that you probably already have access to.
Right. A lot of it is you compose on tin cans. You compose on something that sounds cool. And this particular piece of music was something that we can, the auto harp. It's like the thing that you play in music class that the teacher plays. You press G and you hit the strings and it plays the G chord. You know what I'm talking about?
Kumbaya.
Anybody?
I used to do that.
Does everybody know the auto harp? I'm seeing some I'm hearing some yes. I'm seeing some no's. It's kind of a square thing. The church lady sits it on top of the table, and it's got a couple of buttons and 35, 40 strings, and she plays the chord that the sheet music tells her in front of her. But it's a really corny instrument. But we wanted something this is a commercial that we had to compose for. It's kind of a serious subject, but done in a slightly offbeat. It has a joke in it, and so we didn't want to just have
heavy music.
Yeah, it couldn't be heavy. It had to be cool. It had to actually be cool, and then also had to have a little bit of a joke element. So instead of using guitar or some kind of like cool instrument, we composed it on auto harp, and this is the spot. Good, right?
Okay, it's just me and you. That's fine. I'll do the work. And never let up. Never give in. And where's that going to get me? Further than it did yesterday. Okay, it's just me and you.
Every step you take in Wall Street is another challenge.
And you might have seen their ads. It's a local rehabilitation company that has a little bit. They get it, I mean, this lady is an amputee and has a real serious challenge in front of her, and but they didn't want to make it just too heavy, They wanted to make it so you remember Moss Rehab. And so when you're picking music for your films, when you're looking to take all the emotion that you have invested in this and show it, choose wisely, choose music wisely, and do it with the method Jamie was talking about. Look for emotional beats, and that will tell you your tempo that you need to be at. If you're going at it from that direction, some people already have the music picked and edit to that and make a scene line up to a piece of music. I've seen that go terribly wrong. And usually what happens is the opposite. You come at music afterwards. And that's okay, because that'll tell you, your scene, your action will tell you what your music should be like. So
that's it. I know that we don't have probably any more time, but does anybody have any last questions before we send you on your way? I don't think so.
Guys.
Wait.
Oh, we do have one.
We got one question.
Could you share your voice a little?
What is it?
When you get the right to use music, are you able to edit that music then, or do you need a separate right for that as well?
When you get the rights to music, are you able to edit that music, or do you need separate rights to edit it as well? Is that right?
No. No, you don't.
No, once you get like we did on that last piece. What were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say every situation is different, but in general, no, when you get the rights to a piece of music, you get the rights to use it, and however you see fit through a scene. Depending on the artist, they might ask to see a script. They might,
Right.
before they give you approval to use their music. We were working on licensing "I'm Sexy and I Know It" for a national ad campaign, and they wanted to change it to "I'm a senior and I know it." It's for old people working out at a gym. And LMFAO were cool with that. They're like, fine, it's fine. You can do whatever you want. You can turn it into a polka if you want to. But they did ask. And so,
Right. It's good business to work with whoever you're getting it from. But once you get the rights, you can do whatever you want. There's a question in the back. Yeah.
You said you would chop it up, but then when you take, how would you go about lengthening the song?
Well, we mix everything in Pro Tools, which is a program. Does everybody know what Pro Tools is?
And does everybody have, I think everybody who's making a movie today you have audio editing tools kind of baked in. If you don't, we exported everything and operated completely in an audio world. In Final Cut, you can edit audio as well. You can chop it and create you can do the same thing. You have the ability to crossfade.
You take the pieces, music is typically in sections, and you can copy those sections and, as Tommy said, crossfade and make the transition seamless so it doesn't seem like you have done anything to it.
Right. And in that case, we went back to the intro. We were using the intro as our kind of interstitial piece where they were
talking,
where there was dialogue. So we could go back to the instrumental intro, and then kind of cut back to the verse where we were, and then when they get to talking again, when there's dialogue, we pull out and go back to the intro of the music, and it all just sounds like one piece of music. It sounds, it's very deliberate.
Yes.
When you get the rights to music, how long does that last? Can you use it for other movies or?
No, you can't use it for other movies. Everything's negotiated. Sometimes you get the rights for a film just for festival use. Sometimes you get you're going to pay less for it if you're just buying the music or licensing the music for the festival, but then you're going to wind up paying more for it later because they're giving you a deal up front.
Richard Smith, please call extension 2001, Richard Smith.
Is that our?
2001.
That's probably a good place to stop, right? That's probably a good place to end. Is this off? It's probably a good place to end this with that. Richard Smith.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This is a great thing. Do you have any? That's right. More people staying.
Thank you very much.